Welcome, Larry Klinger. I want to thank you for joining me today and answering these questions.
Thank you, Larry. I look forward to them.
What is your background and profession?
Okay. So right now I'm currently the program supervisor at the Allegheny Intermediate Unit for the Family and Community Educational Services and Workforce Development. So I run a multitude of programs throughout Allegheny County that work with fathers and families. I'm also the chairman of the Fathers Collaborative Council of Western Pennsylvania, which is made up about 25 agencies that all come together for the good of fathers and their families. I've also chaired the PFF-SPN, which is the Pennsylvania Fathers Family Service Provider Network, and I am a 22-year U.S. Army veteran.
Larry, please tell me more about the Collaborative Council. Really, you're the first person I'm talking to on the council. And when we went to Pittsburgh, that was a great event that you hosted. So I'm really curious to learn a little bit more about that. Can you tell me what you do and what the group does?
Yes, I can do that. Thanks, Larry. So the Fathers Collaborative Council of Western Pennsylvania was started out about 15 years ago. And the whole idea was there were a lot of agencies that were working in silos, all with the very similar focus, working with fathers and families. So we started out as having meetings for brown bag lunch. You brought your lunch, we sat down, we had three things. We found out about an agency that was doing something. What's a problem that you're seeing, and how do we brainstorm to overcome it? Right now, it's evolved for the last 15 years, and different groups come in, different people come in, but we're focused on a number of different things. We do events in the Pittsburgh and Allegheny County regions, actually the southwestern part of Pennsylvania, to get fathers involved with their children. We do educational and training where we will have virtual as well as in-person trainings for professionals around a variety of topics, from fatherhood engagement to learning about different systems. Another area that we focus is on advocacy, and that is, how do we make a difference? And it's our conduit between the Fathers Collaborative Council and the Greater Fatherhood Family Involvement Campaign, is how do we influence policymakers as well as procedures that have been set up by different agencies and or governmental agencies. It's volunteer. People come together. We meet on a monthly basis, and we address the issues and topics that are at hand.
Dr. Lynch remembers you particularly when he came to Pittsburgh and met the Fathers Collaborative Council. And he found that there was great support for the campaign for greater father family involvement before he even began his movement. And again, he remembered you as being instrumental. What do you remember about meeting Dr. Lynch and then being one of those first movers along with him in the campaign?
Yeah, it was, when I first got, I have the utmost respect for Dr. Lynch. And really, we were connected through a mutual acquaintance that was doing work in both Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. We had a virtual call with the two of us. He was doing a lot of good things that were happening in the Philadelphia area. I explained what was going on in the Pittsburgh area. And then I went to Philadelphia, he came to Pittsburgh to understand what was going on. And he met many of the members of the Fathers Collaborative Council. He explained what he was looking at doing. And truly, it was an opportunity to expand our geographical footprint and to help out what we were doing in Allegheny County, but do it for the entire state or Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. But Dr. Lynch was somebody that we could get behind these efforts to make a bigger impact for fathers, families, and their children.
Larry, why did you get involved not only with the Collaborative Council, but the Campaign for Greater Father-Family Involvement? Why do you think there's the need for such a movement?
Great question, Larry. And really, that comes from a variety of different aspects for me. One, as a father, as an uncle, as an educator, and as a mentor of individuals, they all had different aspects that wanted me to get involved. My first, experience was when my brother had some challenges being involved with his daughter. It was a troubled relationship that he had with his daughter's mother. At one point, he was not given access to his daughter. And the thing that saved him was that he had his name on the birth certificate, but he did not have access to his daughter. Even when there were some legal issues on the mother's side, it took my brother a long time to just get emergency custody of his daughter.
To clarify, when you said a legal issue, and you're being very discreet, an issue that would potentially interfere with parenting where he would be needed in the child's life. Is that a fair summary?
That is correct. He did have visitation rights at that time. He was married to another individual. He had a full-time job and he owned a house. But the mother of the daughter got into some legal issues that she was not going to be available anymore. She may have had some prison time. And it took my brother a variety of different avenues to get custody, emergency custody of his daughter at that time to be involved in him. Fast forward 30 years, he's still involved.
Sure, I want to hold that thought too. Again, just to clarify, you're talking about someone didn't say, hey, you're the father, you have legal rights, come get your kid. Instead, what you're talking about, it was legal, it was complicated.
It was a drawn out process, although it may have not been long in time, but just the red tape that he had to go through just to get emergency custody again of his own daughter, instead of his daughter going to live with another relative of his daughter's mother. So yes.
In other words, the system put him as a second-class citizen to someone who was not directly a parent, but a more distant relative than fatherhood. He was beneath somebody who was more distant than his right as a parent.
As an educator, I see a lot of barriers that fathers have to overcome to be in the lives of their children if they're not married, if they don't live in the same household. My brother was no exception. It was a struggle for him to get custody and to get for his daughter. And again, everything that I do when it comes to fathers, families, and children is not about the father. It's not about the mother, but it's about the health and well-being of children. And if you always keep that in mind, then what I do and how I perceive things, that's what drives me. That's what directs me.
So to clarify even further, for people who can't imagine what you're talking about, you don't mean a lot of red tape that he had to go into an office and spend all day filling out forms. You're talking about he had to spend good money, retain a lawyer, and a great financial and emotional expense to fight for his child. Can you clarify on what you remember?
Again, this was probably 25 years ago. He did have to go in. He did have to fill out the paperwork, so it was red tape. He did have to get legal counsel to advise him and help him get through the process. Something that you think should be simple because he is the father and was part of his daughter's life at the time, should not have taken so long, and it should not have been an issue. That's my opinion. Yes. Some of the other things. Go ahead, Larry.
Well, no, if you have other things, go ahead. I was going to ask you what efforts did you made to advance the goals of the campaign. That's our next topic. But you
Okay.
go if you. I can hold that for you to finish.
Yes, if you don't mind, just a couple other things. Why did we get involved? Again, as an educator and working at the Allegheny Intermediate Unit, we run programs year long for fathers and families. And, we've seen the challenges, firsthand with the staff that we have. We have fathers that want to be engaged in their or fatherhood engagement. They want to be part of their child's lives. In my opinion, a lot of the policies and procedures that have been put in place do not help a father's effort as they should be part of their children's lives. There is a lot of struggle, a lot of barriers. There's a lot of things that they have to overcome to ensure that they can be part of their child's lives. And then the last thing that I've seen, another thing that I've seen is, we do program at the Allegheny County Jail. We run fatherhood and parenting classes there. And if I look at the number of individuals that we've worked at and the lack of their father's involvement in their lives, and if you see where they're at now, being incarcerated, it really made a difference to wanting to make a change. And again, and then the last thing is an attitude change that I've seen. I'm an educator. I educate people. I inform them about what's going on. We were doing a fatherhood engagement activity with a local agency. And there was an activity that we have done is, you close your eyes, I throw out the word father, and what comes to your mind? And the director of this site attitude was sperm donor. That's the only thing that they are good for. And when I heard that and saw the attitude of the entire office, how are they supposed to be representing what's best for the health and well-being of children if that's the attitude that they've had of working with fathers? Now, I'm not saying all fathers are great. We all have challenges that we have to overcome. But if that's the overarching attitude of working with fathers, that needed to change. So with all that being said, that's why I wanted to be involved with the campaign for greater fatherhood family involvement.
And describe your personal efforts to advance the goals of the campaign, in addition to everything else that you explained that you're doing with the council and in your own personal life.
So I always think about, I think locally, or I act locally, but think globally. How can I influence not just Allegheny County and the individuals I work with, but the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania? How do I see, advancing this across the United States? That's where I always look at how I can affect that. So I think globally, but work locally. So I'm an educator, as I said, by trade, and I like to educate people about certain issues and advocate strongly for things that I believe in. So when I educate people, I always go with the premise of, so what? That's the question I get from a lot of people when I talk about, the importance of fathers in the lives of children. So what? That's the question I get. So I like to answer that when I educate people around this issue. Fathers do matter in the lives of the children. You can Google that, get a lot of different statistics if you would about the importance of fathers being in the lives of children. So I'll share information such as that. There is a report or an annual public report that talks about the $100 billion man, that talks about the cost to to taxpayers, if you would, for programs that support absent fathers. $100 billion, that is a lot of money. You know, I also look at how can we change policies and procedures that limit or block fathers to be involved in the lives of their children. And I know that the governmental commission is looking at doing that. We want to submit some ideas of what can change, but then also looking at another aspect of that is how do you make an environment father friendly? A lot of agencies are women focused. Nothing wrong with that, as long as we keep in mind it's about the health and well-being of children. But are their environments or are their offices father friendly? Would somebody want to come in? Going back to policies and procedures, just on a small note, with an agency, do you have contact information for the mother and the father? Are people allowed to pick up? Do fathers have the ability to be part of that process, or are they focused just on the mother aspect? And then speaking about the Pennsylvania Father Family Service Provider Network, there was an opportunity that we started to provide information across the state about emerging issues when it came to, fathers and father engagement. Those are some of the things that we have done around getting involved and educating individuals.
So we have a law getting an advisory committee to jointly issue a report for what can be done, how greater father-family involvement can be improved and increased. What more do you think that we need to do to strengthen the family, get fathers more involved, and support our children more effectively?
Okay. I think the Government Commission is a great start. It's a good start to align systems of government to make it a level playing ground for both mothers and fathers. Again, keeping the idea that it's about the health and well-being of children. However, government can only do so much. They can make the policies and procedures level playing field, if you would. But it's not all about government. It has to change. We have to change our minds and our thought process as a society, that fathers do matter, and that the impact that they have in and on their children is very important. So getting information to the commission about recommendations is really important, but it starts as, are we setting the right example? Are we talking to other people, and how else can we help our neighbors, our fathers, our churchgoers, people that we interact with when it comes to father engagement and father involvement?
Let's leave it there. Larry, again, thank you for being a guest and having this discussion with me today.
Thank you, Larry.